You have us in like the specific order? Okay. Okay, it's coming late.
Hey, look at that guy. Good morning, everyone. Oh, thank you. Once more. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to the National Press Club. My name is Svante Myrick. I am the president of People for the American Way. We are thrilled to be able to introduce what we believe are 5 of the most important people in America. Here's why they're yes. Here's why they're here. Here's why we are here. People for the American Way, a national advocacy organization founded in 1980 by Norman Lear. He founded it when he was 60. Around the time he was 80, he said, "You know what I like? Young people. And young people in government in particular. We need to encourage folks to run for office at a young age, and those who get elected at the local level, we want to mentor them, guide them, and grow their leadership." That was 20 years ago, 20 years ago this week. So we are marking the 20th anniversary of the Young Elected Officials Network, which started with 40 young people under 35, is now a network of over 1,600 young elected officials across the country, from school boards to mayors to state legislators, lieutenant governors, and presidential candidates. The network has become a force. But because the network is spread out, they don't often get to address the members of the DC Press Corps, right? And today, of all days, we thought it was really important to bring these 5 voices to the attention of the nation. Because these are 5 folks who on this, the 100th day of Donald Trump's administration, can speak directly to how well he's doing, to the policies he's implemented, and the impact that those policies are having in their communities from Iowa to Northern Virginia. Okay. So I actually want to, if I could, start in Iowa. I'll introduce each speaker, ask them to speak for 3 to 5 minutes, and then we can field questions both from our live stream, from reporters in the room, and conversation amongst themselves. If I could start with our Iowa State Senator and longtime being relative in YEO terms. She's still a young elected official, but one of our most stalwart, impressive, steadfast, and brilliant members of the Young Elected Officials Network is State Senator Liz Bennett.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. As Svante said, I am State Senator Liz Bennett. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I appreciate all of the opportunities I've had through the Young Elected Officials Network. Becoming the first out LGBTQ woman to serve in the Iowa legislature certainly came with its challenges, and having YEO at my back was something that really helped me navigate a lot of those challenges. 10 years later, after being elected, I'm now a state senator, and I'm here on behalf of over 65,000 Iowans and many, many more who have expressed their deep concerns over the past 100 days. I asked my constituents and others what they wanted the nation to know about what they are most concerned about, and so I wanted to make sure to elevate their voices here today. My constituents have made it known to me and to their federal elected officials in no uncertain terms that they are deeply concerned about a tax plan that would rob the most vulnerable Iowans of dollars for Medicaid, SNAP, things like Head Start, things that average, everyday, hardworking Iowans rely upon for the future of their children, for basic nutritional needs, and even simply to live. Iowans are concerned about the Social Security benefits that they have worked so hard for. Iowans are concerned about their jobs and their small businesses. Over the past couple of months, thousands of Iowans have already lost their jobs or have been told that they can expect to be laid off, maybe not. The net result of this is uncertainty and chaos, which is never good for an economy. Right in my district, the AmeriCorps volunteers working at a beloved community nonprofit, the Indian Creek Daycare Center, were abruptly let go. So they're no longer working on the projects that have been so important to our community. Before I came here, I heard from people like Dan, who is a martial arts instructor, and he talked about how for his small business, the tariffs have created a lot of uncertainty, and he's been unable to order the equipment that he needs. I heard from Kelly, who's a chef, who I wish you all could know her, because without even being asked, she is a person who has contributed to the greater good of the community at every turn, giving her time, her resources. She is now completely disabled, and she has gotten nothing but the runaround from SSDI and is potentially facing homelessness. I heard from another person I serve named Marissa, who is a breast cancer survivor. And she feels that it's a slap in the face to have survived breast cancer, only to now see funding for important research cut. We have disabled veterans who are not able to receive the services they need because of layoffs at the VA, and other community grants who work with folks in our unhoused community. LGBTQ Iowans have left the state. I have one friend who moved out of the country because of the instability and the attacks from this administration. Our farmers are facing instability with this trade war as China may cancel orders of US pork. It threatens our soybean exports. And I think we all saw as a nation how everyday Iowans are concerned about the rule of law and due process. We do not want a dictator. Iowa has no king. We want a president who follows the laws, who respects the Supreme Court. So I'm glad to be able to raise just some of the issues that have been expressed to me by everyday Iowans, because the past 100 days have been a disaster and chaos.
Here, here. I'd like to go, if I could, from Iowa to Maryland. I think we'll do Iowa, Maryland, Wisconsin, Virginia, and close with the senator. I think that's the way I'd like to do it. And in Maryland, we're very, very pleased to be joined by a state delegate who's only 28 years old now.
Getting older every year, you know.
It's a good way to compromise with those who think you're too young. So Joe Vogel coming to us from Montgomery County in Maryland. We really appreciate you being here to share your experience of these first 100 days.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to people for the American way. I'm the last to get here, and I'm going to have to be the first to leave, and we'll blame the Maryland, D.C. traffic. So, but you know, it is a real privilege to get to share what Marylanders are going through, right? And it is the last 100 days have been filled with pain and fear for so many people. About 100 days ago, I said to my constituents, I understand the pain that you're feeling, and we're going to do everything we can here in Maryland to protect our values, protect your rights, protect your economic well-being. And I'm proud to say that we've done so in Maryland. At a time of great chaos and distress for so many people, we have taken action, legislative action, to protect federal workers, to further secure reproductive freedom, to protect vulnerable LGBTQ plus communities, to fully fund our public education system. But every action the Trump administration takes makes our job even harder. Just the other day, there was a news report that the administration is now suggesting they will refuse to refund $418 million in education assistance funding that was meant to help our school systems recover from the pandemic. That is a huge hit to Maryland's budget. That's an example of the actions, the chaos from this administration that is causing real effects in states like ours, and we know the consequence of an action like that. Every public school and every public school student will be hurt as a result of it. I am glad to see that 100 days in, this president is, at this point, the most unpopular president in recent history, 100 days into this administration. That popularity rating is for demographics across the board, but in particular young people who see very clearly what this bargain is that the Trump administration is offering. It is a bargain, a proposal, an agenda to cut the benefits, the services, the programs that every generation, but particularly young people, rely on, just to give a tax break to the wealthiest people in this country. Young people are clear-eyed about what that means, and we reject it, right? We do not want our public schools defunded to give a tax break to the wealthiest Americans. We do not want our friends and neighbors losing health care coverage. We do not want our parents and grandparents losing Social Security and Medicare. We do not want our economy and our security sold off just so that the wealthiest people in this country can become even wealthier. That is not a bargain that young people accept. I want to end with this, which is I was watching news coverage the other day that was highlighting how a growing majority of Americans are calling for a new generation of leadership. I saw this poll that said 77% of Americans across generations, from the youngest Americans to the oldest Americans, all want and are craving a new generation of leaders and believe that that new generation of leaders is what we need, not just to take on the Trump administration, but to really change the tone in our politics. A lot of the focus has been on Congress and future elections. To those 77% of Americans, I have a very clear message. The new generation of leaders is here. You see them up here today, and you see them all across the country leading the effort against this Trump administration, protecting our communities and protecting the future of our country. So we got your back.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Representative. And understand if you have to leave now
I'll stick around
to make your 3-hour return trip to Maryland.
Oh my goodness.
So Marcelia Nicholson, she's been in office since 2016.
Yes.
And the largest, with all due apologies to Madison, the largest and most important county
Yes.
in Wisconsin. Not just leading on the legislature, but actually leading the legislature as the first Black woman to be elected chair. So think from 2016, Barack Obama was president, imagine that. Through the COVID pandemic, the racial reckoning of 2020, the first Trump administration, and now the second Trump administration, Marcelia's leadership and star power has helped Milwaukee continue to shine and grow, even despite the recent arrest by the FBI of a local judge in her district. So I want to thank Chairwoman Nicholson for being here and offer you the floor.
Thank you, Svante, and I want to thank People For and young elected officials for grounding me in my leadership and for connecting me to these visionary peers and allowing me the conditions to thrive in my role in Milwaukee. So thank you. I'm honored to be here to speak on behalf of Milwaukee. I'm a daughter of the Midwest. I'm a proud Black Latina. I was raised in the heart of Wisconsin, and I was raised in the most diverse community in the state of Wisconsin, one of the only blue counties in Wisconsin. And to tell you it's been an emotional ride and roller coaster would be an understatement. My diverse background has given me a unique ear to the ground in the community. I'm a former public school teacher, so parents and families and students are often where I'm knocking doors and listening to the organizing groups who are on the ground, connecting to our residents in very unique ways has allowed me to learn how deeply intense and chaotic this Trump administration has been in Milwaukee and in the state of Wisconsin. His mass deportations have impacted not only our farms and our rural communities, but also our construction sector, our hospitality sector, and any business that you can think of that you may interact with a person, because these people are the thread of our communities. We're seeing his assault on reproductive rights and women's rights. We're seeing his assault on diversity and equity and inclusion. People like me who are proudly representing our communities, who are proudly providing representation in various ways. We're feeling that assault on ourselves and who we are. We are seeing his assault on our economy. There are people who can't afford to pay their bills, are wondering how they're going to pay their lights, how they're going to put food on the table. It's absolutely terrible what Trump has been doing. But in Wisconsin, we don't lay down. We don't bow down to tyranny. We've seen how Elon Musk tried to buy our courts. He flooded Wisconsin with dark money, but we stood up. We elected Judge Susan Crawford, who's a champion for justice. And we also have seen how Trump has tried to penalize dissent. He's tried to tell us, if you don't fall in line, I'll throw you in jail. And if you don't believe me, go Google Judge Hannah Duggan, who, because she wasn't a tool of his deportation machine, the FBI showed up to one of our public courts and arrested her in a publicity stunt. What we did was we stood up, we demonstrated, we rallied, and we're standing behind Judge Hannah Duggan because we're here to stay and we're here to fight. So what I will also offer is there are young elected leaders in Wisconsin. All three who run Milwaukee County, our mayor, our county executive, myself, we're all under 40 years old. And we're offering real results, and we're doing it in real time. We're passing progressive budgets. We're investing in housing. We're investing in our economy. We're investing in our parks, our green spaces. We're fighting back against climate change. We are the next generation, and so we're investing in our futures. So for anyone who is listening and has the ability to donate, please invest in People For, invest in YEO, invest in our future leaders. And for those young people who are scared, who are feeling tired, who are feeling like they're tired of having their rights rolled back, don't wait. Run now. Run towards that power. Run towards public office. And let's help shape a future that we can all thrive in.
Amen. I'd love me some Marcelia. Yeah, and Wisconsin rolls deep. At the conference, the Young Elected Officials Conference happening here in Washington, D.C., over 100 electeds from across the country will be sharing notes and tips, strategies for the whole next week. Wisconsin will be, as always, overrepresented.
Yes.
We all roll deep. I think we still got Bowen will be here, and
Yes.
Adela, and
Yes.
as well as David and
Yes.
everybody. Josh Cole is one of the hardest working. I mean, he's a teacher, a pastor, and a relentlessly effective campaigner. And I don't just mean that in the terms of those of us who now live in the DMV have seen his ads. You have to see his ads, both when he represented the 28th and now the 65th districts. But he's not just campaigning for office, he's campaigning for what he believes is right. He takes a message and spreads it as effectively as anybody we've seen in this country. And we are thrilled to be joined here by Delegate Josh Cole.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am honored here today to be representing the people who sent me down to Richmond to represent them. I represent a unique district. The 65th House District is the gateway to the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We sit just 45 minutes outside of Washington, D.C., and it's my home. I grew up there. My family are federal workers. Friends and family members are federal workers. Not only am I blessed to represent federal workers, but also veterans. I'm representing different people from all different walks of life. And I really believe that the Fredericksburg area is a microcosm of the Commonwealth of Virginia as a whole, from many different people from all different walks of life, from different backgrounds. And what we've seen over the last 100 days is people who are now living in fear. They do not know what's going to happen come tomorrow. My mother is a federal worker who's blessed to be secured in her job, but she comes back home and tells me all the time of her coworkers who don't know if they're going to have a job come tomorrow, or don't know if they're going to have a job come next week, or what are they going to do about affording bills, I spoke to a constituent of mine about 2 weeks ago who said that she's starting to conserve and save because she doesn't know if she's going to have a job. They were planning to move, and now they're trying to consider if they even have the opportunity to move. We have seen that this administration has become one of the most unpopular, as Delegate Vogel has said. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Mr. President has a 38% approval rating. And that goes to show what happens when you attack public servants, the people who put their lives on the line every single day to do good work for our government, right? And not only that, but this administration has taken money from the Virginia Department of Health, the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health. These are people who are the most vulnerable among us, who need their health care, who need mental health services, and we have a call center for people who are dealing with substance abuse. That call center is having to be shut down because of the money we have lost from the federal government. That does not sound like government efficiency to me. And only on top of this are we seeing attack on top of attack on our public servants, on our military. We have a brand new Virginia military VA hospital that just opened up 5 minutes outside of my district. And it is not fully functioning because of the cuts to the VA. And so now we have to find out who is going to stand up for us and who is going to fight for us. And as Delegate Vogel said earlier, we are here. And I'm really, I appreciate the Young Elected Officials Networks for bringing us here today to making sure that we are showing people that there are young people who are ready to fight, young people who are lifting up their voices, and young people who are saying, not on my dime. We are here to show you that a government can work for you. We are here to show you that a government can fight for you. And we are here to show you that a government can be efficient and can work when the right people are in office and doing the right work. And so today, I'm really appreciative. Thank you for calling us here. And thank you for making sure that people all over, I was going to say the Commonwealth, I'm used to my messaging being the Commonwealth, but all over the United States are, they have voice, they have an opportunity, and they have people who have their backs and they are fighting for them. And I'm a big nerd. I do not want the United States to become the galactic empire. And so we are here as a delegation of the 200,000 to fight back and push back to make sure that the empire does not strike back and that we continue to protect Lottie Dottie and everybody.
Chief Jedi Knight, Josh Cole. Really appreciate it. So what is the American way? Very proud to be president of People for the American Way. Sometimes, that's a confusing business card. People will look at it and say, what exactly is the American way? Mm-hmm. At its heart, what it is that we are a people that have been proudly free of kings since 1776. Proudly. We govern ourselves. We choose our leaders. Those leaders represent us. There is nothing less American than the fact that Washington, D.C. has no elected representatives in Congress. There's 600,000 residents who are every year being denied what the Constitution promises them, which is representation. And the Trump administration's attempt to take to not only not enfranchise the 51st state, but to take away home rule. Right? The very ability of the local government to make decisions for itself. Well, that's not American, that's a plantation. A 600,000 person plantation working on behalf of billionaires far away. That's un-American. So we're very proud to be joined today by the shadow senator from Washington, D.C., somebody chosen by the people of D.C. to represent their interest, even if he doesn't have a vote. The people of D.C. seem to chosen a very good senator. Just a couple months ago, he took office in January. Because as an attorney, as an activist, as an organizer, Ankit has his finger on the pulse of what the people of this district deserve and is truly one of the people for the American way. Welcome, Ankit.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the people for organizing this. As he mentioned, my name is Ankit Jain. I'm the shadow senator, the non-voting senator for Washington, D.C. And I'll say that President Trump's second term started out bad for D.C., and it's only gotten worse since then. It feels like a year ago, it was only 100 days ago, that President Trump pardoned or commuted the sentences for every single January 6th insurrectionist. And, that January 6th was an assault on our democracy, but it was also an assault on the city of Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. And the people of D.C. will never forget what those insurrectionists did to our city on that day. I mean, everyone in D.C. has their own January 6th story. I'll say that they put a tank outside the place where we get breakfast right after the attack, and it was like we were in like the green zone in Baghdad, but we were in Washington D.C. and it was just such an it was so wrong what they did to us, and for President Trump to pardon and commute the sentences of people who did that. These are people who attacked police officers violently, people who used bear spray on officers, people who broke windows, who were there to hang Mike Pence as they chanted, and who traumatized so
they weren't
many
all
people.
bad ideas. Not all of the ideas. No.
Yeah, so there was just so many, these are not good people, and I'll say that it's not just the symbolic thing. People in D.C. Were scared for their lives when these people were released, because some of them were still in D.C. jail. They were released onto the streets of Washington, D.C., and we have a group of counter-protesters who have been, personally targeted with threats. And so it started out, that was how the President Trump's administration started out, with the pardoning of every single January 6th insurrectionist. And like I said, it's only gotten worse since then. I mean, the entire country has seen what the president has been doing to our federal workforce. I go to an event, every event I go to, I meet somebody who's been laid off because of these firings. And these are people who worked really hard, got their degree. They could have made a lot of money in the private sector, but they chose not to. They chose to serve their country because they are patriots who believe in this country and making our country greater. And then this is the way the president has treated them. And I will say that every single one of these public servants has more patriotism in their pinky finger than Elon Musk has in his entire body. And to see them treated like this, it's really a tragedy. And we're talking, predictions that there might be a recession. Well, there's probably going to be a recession, unfortunately, nationwide, but it might be especially severe, unfortunately, in Washington, D.C. because of these attacks that we're seeing. And of course, it's not just an attack on the federal workers, but it's an attack on everybody who relies on the federal government, right? Who gets needs those Social Security benefits, or wants to go to the national parks, or you name it, needs some help with their Medicare or Medicaid. It's attacking our federal workers, but attacking our federal workers is attacking the country as a whole. And then, so I'll just say a few more things. That was bad enough, and then Congress came in and they cut over $1 billion from our local budget. We're dealing with the consequences of that right now. Any day now, the mayor will be releasing what some are calling the doomsday budget, where she explains exactly what is going to have to get cut because Congress has cut $1 billion of our own local tax dollars. This is our money. No federal funds are affected, and it's not like we pay less taxes. I pay the same taxes this year as last year. The money just sits in a bank account unused, and we're going to have to deal with the consequences of that. People are talking about schools running 4 days a week. That's what we're talking about. Kids losing 20% of their, education. We're talking about cutting police officers, firefighters. Who knows exactly what the consequences are going to be, but it's not going to be pretty. And when the president talks about making D.C. safe and beautiful, how are you supposed to make D.C. safe and beautiful if you're cutting $1 billion from our local budget? And I will say that I'm thankful for President Trump for supporting the D.C. Local Funds Act, which would restore all that funding that was cut by Congress. It is interesting. I guess Mike Johnson has finally gotten a spine. He's standing up to President Trump, doesn't want to bring the bill to a vote, even though the president is demanding that he pass that bill. This would not be the issue I would say that Mike Johnson should stand up to President Trump on. I would pick a few other issues that he could stand up to President Trump on. But we're still fighting. We're still pushing to get that bill passed with no riders attached. We want the Senate passed version of that bill passed to give us our money back. And once we make it past that, even if we're going to make it past that and we're going to be all right, they've been talking about cutting D.C. Medicaid, right? The president, and I would say a majority of congressional Republicans at this point, has said that they are not going to touch Medicaid. Well, if you're cutting D.C.'s Medicaid funding, you're cutting Medicaid, right? And so why are these Republicans taking health care from poor people to fund tax cuts for the wealthiest among us? And I think that people should be aware of what they're doing. And so my expectation is that if you see these Republicans cut D.C.'s Medicaid, that their voters will hear how they are taking healthcare from working people to fund tax cuts for the wealthy. Don't think you can cut DC Medicaid and nobody's going to hear about it. We are going to make sure that people know exactly what is going on if people take that vote. And our hope is that it's not worth the juice is not worth the squeeze there. You'd save $8 billion over 10 years. That for us in DC, that is devastating. But for the federal government, you're not saving that much money, and you're doing that to have to deal with these attacks. It's not worth it. And so my hope is that we don't see those cuts. But I'm so glad to be here and to have People For organize this, because we need people to know exactly what's going on in the city of Washington, D.C. And we need young people to get involved. I hear from too many young people in the city that why does it matter? Why should I care about national or local politics? And my hope is that if we have more young elected officials in the city, that people can see themselves and decide that they want to get involved, they need to care, and that they need to get out and get active. So thank you very much.
You're here. You're here, and I think you put your finger on something I'd like to expand on just before we go to broader questions. This is a moment, the 100-day mark of an administration is usually where you see a bunch of public polling released of how the administration is doing. And we're seeing those polls this week, and they're not great for the president. But I know that in your positions, you are often closer to the ground even than the pollsters. So I'd like to poll the four of you. Forgive me. Is it just allergy season here forever? Yeah. Just forever?
It is.
This is the worst period, though, I will say.
Me no like it. Okay.
I'm sure that bike ride didn't help.
No, it didn't. I have water, but if you have an antihistamine, that would be great. Would you raise your hand if your constituents from Iowa to Wisconsin to Virginia to DC, if they feel like the economy is doing better now? Raise your hand if you think their economy is doing better now. Raise your hand if your constituents think the economy is worse 100 days in. Okay. Would you raise your hand if your constituents are feeling less anxious than they did 100 days ago? Would you raise your hand if your constituents are feeling more anxious than they were 100 days ago? Okay. How many of you have constituents that are feeling safer than they did 100 days ago? Less safe than they did 100 days ago. Yeah. And this is the one question that I really hope will resonate with those who are up, say, in Congress or in the Senate for the midterms. In terms of engagement, level of anger, level of interest in voting, are you sensing that your constituents are more likely to vote in the midterm election? Wait, let me do it this way. Raise your hand if your constituents are less likely to vote in the midterm elections than they were 100 days ago. Raise your hand if your constituents are more likely to vote in the midterm elections 100 days ago. I think so, too. And I think that, yes, I think it's been my sense from my former constituents that a wave of anger and enthusiasm is going to pound the ballots in 2026 unless congressional Republicans find a way to rein in Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And I think the polls are only beginning to capture what we're seeing in these town halls, what you're hearing in your district offices, and what you're seeing on the street. And that's what we wanted you to be here today to express and to convey and to represent your folks back home here on a national stage. Do we have any questions in the room? Any allergy suggestions? Okay. I know we do have them coming in on the live stream, but it's a bit too difficult to field the live stream questions. So I think I will just offer to close and make available, if you have for the next 15 minutes or so, available for anybody to ask questions. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming and joining People for the American Way. And most of you will be enjoying the next 5 days of programming we have at our Young Elected Officials 20th anniversary convening, where over 100 electeds from across the country will be coming together with one slogan this year, which is, "This is our future and our fight." And there's certainly a lot of fight in these young people. But thank you again for representing what is still hopeful about our country. 250 years with no king, and we intend to have 250 more at least with no king. Thank you.